Afternoon, how y'all doing today? Darryl with Erlbacher again. Today we're going to do a little maintenance on a machine. And Deb Oswald was kind enough to let us borrow her machine because it's good and dirty. To do our maintenance and oiling, we're going to use a screwdriver, which is provided with the kit, 9/16 wrench, and a 1/4 inch Allen wrench, all provided with the kit. We'll start by taking our cylinder off. It's always easiest to take all your needles out first. So get the 2 screws out of the bottom. And of course, that one's a flathead, and I'm not ready for that.
Okay, so how is that different from a regular shop?
So I'll show you.
Come on now.
So I should just go into my saved patterns.
Bear with me as I find the flathead screw.
So it's 2 patterns.
There we go.
So it does kind of like this.
Take both screws out of the bottom. We'll take the cylinder out. And for now, we'll set it
Excuse
off.
me, we're starting.
What?
We're starting. Sorry.
Cylinder off to the side. Take our camshell off, and when we have that off, we're going to wipe it down everywhere that you see any oil or any yarn. I'm sure everyone has seen the fuzz that the yarn leaves behind. We want to make sure we get that off so it doesn't interfere with us later on. Wipe underneath your latches. Those are latches, in case anyone does not know. So we're just going to put a rag literally underneath them to wipe them clean. Both sides, of course. There's a track that goes underneath the V-cam. That's the V-cam. There's a track right there that also gets full of yarn fuzz. So we're going to make sure we wipe that out good and clean. And our camshell should be good to go. We'll set it off to the side for now. Then we'll take off our ring gear, which is this piece. And you can see that it is also very dirty. So we're going to just wipe it down thoroughly. All the way around. Check inside the gearing on the bottom to make sure you don't have anything obstructing in there. Set that off to the side as well. Then we'll wipe off our base. You can see all the oil that accumulates on it. Now that we're down that far, we're going to take our handle off with our 1/4 inch Allen wrench, 9/16 wrench. Loose. Oh Lord, this one hasn't been off in a while. Oh goodness. Well, there that goes. We'll get that loose. Take the nut off the back.
Darryl, can you talk louder? Because we're deaf.
Okay, we will. Yes. Loosen up our shoulder bolt. This is a shoulder bolt. We'll get it out so you can see a little bit better. Purely because it has a shoulder on it, and that's what the handle rides on. So we're going to make sure that's good and clean. And we're just going to quickly wipe off front and back of our handle. The handle receptacle here, we're going to make sure that's wiped off. This is an older machine. It is only capable of having a reduced ratio handle, which is that one. Some of the newer machines will have a longer stem on it. They have 2 holes. Top hole is for reduced ratio. Bottom hole is for the speedster handle, or 1-to-1 we also call it. Then we'll go ahead and take our shoulder bolt while we have it out and use a little bit of petroleum jelly and wipe it on the shiny part of the shoulder bolt. Then we'll reinstall it, if I can keep a hold of it. Yeah, I'm doing good today. Reinstall it back inside the handle, and the handle back on the machine base. Tighten it up. We don't want to tighten it up enough where it locks the handle in place. If it does, just back the screw off 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/4 of an inch of a turn until your handle spins free. And always remember to put your jam nut on the back of it so it will not spin the nut in the bolt anymore. And before we call that one done, we want to use the tension bolt here, and we're going to snug it up. We want to snug it up to the point where the handle won't drop on its own. The handle can lay out vertical and it will not drop by itself. Purpose of that being when we're doing heels and toes and switching directions, the handle will not make us drop a stitch by falling out of place. Now we'll take our camshell, ring gear, which I threw on the ground, and we're going to put it back in place and take our oil. It's a knitting or a sewing machine oil, I believe it is, provided with your kit, and we're going to run a bead on the top of the silver inside the ring gear all the way around. Once you have that on there, take your ring gear, put it back. And I like to tell everyone, when you're reassembling your machine, put all of your pieces back on it. Oh boy, I got that jammed up when I dropped it. Okay, we'll skip that for now. I'll have to straighten that out in a minute. I like to tell everyone that everything that sticks up on your machine needs to be in a line. So if they're all right in front of each other, your machine will assemble properly. Got to get that loose to get our cylinder back on, so bear with me just a minute. There it goes. Now, we've got to take a little bead of oil right inside where you can see where the aluminum of the camshell is. We're going to drop just a bead of oil on top of that all the way around, and that will help our cylinder so it doesn't scar. Then we'll take our cylinder and put it back in. And when I put my cylinder down, I like to spin it a little bit. If there's anything between the cylinder and the seat for it, you'll feel it when you spin it around. And if there is something in there, pull it out, wipe it off again. Once we have our cylinder in, we'll put our screw back in the bottom of it. Spin the cylinder until you feel the screw go up inside the screw hole. Then we can snug the screw up. And the screws on your cylinder don't have to be super tight, just snug. So that's in place. Now we're going to take our oil again, and we're looking to get oil in between where the cylinder is and the camshell is. You can see the gold and the silver on this particular machine, and we want to run a bead all the way around in there, all the way around the whole thing, and some in where the V-cam is also. Then run a little bit over the top of your V-cam where it's right by the cylinder. That'll help so the cylinder won't get scarred. Then we'll crank it around a couple, 3 or 4 times just to let that oil work itself in. Now, after a period of use, you'll need to put some more oil on your handle. There's a hole adjacent from the jam nut. There's a little hole in the green part on this particular machine to put your oil, and the oil spout will fit right inside that hole, and you can just put a couple drops inside there, spin it around, and that will lubricate it without taking it off the whole machine. There's only a couple other places that we want to lubricate while we're doing all of this. One of them is our counter roller, which is right up here, and that just takes a little drop of oil on top of it. And spin it around, get it worked in. And the other one is our take-up wire, which is here. It has a pivot point also, so we're going to put a little drop of oil between the green part and the brass part and just actuate it a couple times to let that oil work in. And that's the only parts of the machine that we need to oil with any regularity. Does anybody have any questions?
How often should you oil it and clean it? Just clean it when you see it getting dirty.
Pretty much, yes. The more you use it, obviously, the more you're going to have to clean it. With my particular preference is when I start seeing that yarn fuzz build up, I want to get it cleaned off. Yeah, I don't like to see that stuff. I can't see how everything acts. And in my mind, that can interfere with the latches on the needles if you have too much of it there. So I like to keep everything lubricated well. And when you do oil your machine for the first time and every time after that, you're going to get dripping off the bottom of it. So put a mat, a towel, something underneath it so you don't mess up your carpets or your floor at home. It does help a lot. And remember, some of us have neighbors below us and they really don't like it when we do things like that. So, anybody else have questions?
So oil helps because you're metal on metal, so it doesn't matter how often you oil your machine.
Absolutely not. No. You can oil it every day if you choose to. Not necessary, but you certainly can.
Do you think the humidity affects?
It will to a degree. We use our tolerancing to hopefully compensate so that the humidity won't make things swell enough to jam up. And we haven't had many issues with that, but it is possible over a period of time that the oil, I like to say, gets impregnated into the materials and the materials can't swell. Usually it doesn't swell anything notable, so you should not have any issues with it.
The oil doesn't dry up. Does it dry up in the
It'll-
heat?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's water soluble.
Yeah, it will absolutely dry out.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, all oils will dry.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of them leave a residue as well, so you have to be aware of that because all the oils that we've used, most of them that are on the market, will attract that fuzz off the yarn also. That's why most of it gets so dirty so fast. Anybody else? Nothing on the internet, I don't see. That was a quick demonstration. Nobody was ready for that, were they?
Right into it.